Okay, so this pasuk may or may not be connected to the one we did last week, but we're going to treat it as though it's not. And this is a weird. This is one of these like half rhymey pasukim. Like you feel like he's trying to make a rhyme, but it's not exactly rhymey. B'chol etzev yihei mosar u'devar sefasayim ach lemachzor. It's like a kind of a half, rhyming conventions in Hebrew are very, very limited. Okay, so this is a hard one to translate even. How do you translate it? I mean, I kind of
In every pain, there is
there's what?
There gain.
Oh yeah, that's actually really good. There is gain. In every pain, there is gain. I see you redeemed it in terms of making rhyming proverbial. Yeah. Let's see if you can rhyme the second half.
No pain, no gain about it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's might be the forerunner to that. All right.
And that thing that I'm a little bit editorial, but a thing
Sure.
that comes from lips.
Okay. We'll try stick as close as possible. Yeah. A matter of lips
is only for loss.
Is only for loss. Yeah. All right, we'll see if we can make that rhyme later. Okay, so let's see, pain, hurt, or toil. I think toil is another legitimate translation that we should consider here. Okay, mosar is gain or abundance. Let's say abundance, and then I think preeminence. I like superiority better than preeminence. Like mosar ha'adamina mehima ayin ki kol havel, right? That the superiority of man over the beast is nothing. Okay, so it says that there. Okay. Mitzudas Tion says etzev gam ha'amel. Yeah, he says even toil is nikra etzev, is called etzev, ki etzev ba'amal. Okay, because I guess you have pain when you toil. Mosar is yisron v'harvacha. So is superiority, abundance or profit. Okay. I'm gonna add profit there also. Profit. Okay, because I think gain doesn't have the same connotation as like profit is like you're netting more, whereas gain could just be
extra.
Yeah, extra, right. Sadigon says ribui, yeah.
I have a rhyme for this.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's a little bit of a loose translation.
That's rhyme, okay.
Yeah. It's a matter of lips is just a miss.
Oh, okay, yeah. So in every pain there is gain, but a matter of lips is just a miss. I like it. I like it.
I thought, but a matter of lips only trips.
Only trips. I think miss is closer to Machzor. Very good. Very good. Yeah. Yeah. As a side note, by the way, whenever you see a translation of like piyutim or poetry in any language, but let's say there's two philosophies when you translate poetry, right? There's trying to preserve the literal. I guess there's three philosophies. They're trying to preserve the literal words, which I think most poetry translators don't do. Then there's trying to like simulate the exact poetic effect of the Hebrew or of the original language, which is also very difficult to do. And then, the intermediate way is to basically like try to preserve the content and the ideas, but like use creativity to come up with a poetic translation in the language you're translating it into, So like you'll see, for example, there are translations of poems that are written in other languages that they'll make it rhyme in English. Well, clearly that's not clearly you have to take liberties in order to do that, but there is an art to doing that. In fact, a friend of mine who is into poetry did a complete rhyming translation of Megillas Esther, which is pretty impressive. But the reason why I'm bringing it up now is because in Tehillim, this is very relevant. And then Mishlei also has the qualities of a shira. And it is poetry, so like this move of like the loose translation is not necessarily illegitimate, even though that's not my style, but I'm glad that you tried your hand at it. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's it when you're doing like art school translations of Slichos or something.
Yes, right.
Isn't any of those three?
It's not. Yeah, it's kind of a jumble of like, I think the closest one is they are trying to preserve it literally and fill in missing information, and that's what leads it to be like a jumble. Yeah. And that's another reason why Robert Alter is a good translator, because he tries to stick to the language and to the poetic effect, as much as possible. So that's part of his philosophy translation. Okay, so Mitzudas Tion says it's toil. Okay, we can delete that. Sadigon says ribui hama'amatzim yihye lemosar. Oh man, I always forget ma'amatzim in modern Hebrew. Anyone know what matim is?
Like strengthening.
Yeah, so chazak v'amat is from that, but I think there is a okay, sure, you can do that. Whoa, why do I have to log in again? Am I Nash anyways? Or am I Ravish anyways? I always forget. Translate. Translate much effort. That's what it is. Effort, yeah, will be unnecessary. And there is a word that is for lack. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so yeah, much effort. Yihye limosar will be for. Oh, so this is interesting. So he does limosar does have a negative connotation, right? So it's not. I think it has for a negative, a negative connotation, meaning as opposed to like profit or gain. But we'll see. V'yesh davar shehu lemachzor, and there is a word or a thing that is for lack. V'hine kol rov o riboy urei gam pirush letorah mahadrasi bereshis ve'etzev hama'ames v'hayagia. Okay, fine. We can look at those up if we do go into side econ.
The effort. So it's it's almost like wearying.
Right? Wearying. Yeah.
It's a moment.
Or I'd say exertions is probably the many exertions. Many exertions will be for naught. Okay, literally for like pointless extra. Okay. Yeah. All right, Targum, yeah.
Exactly opposite of how we were.
Yeah, right. Seemingly. All right, Targum, which I always forget to look at when I prepare the source sheet. B'chol man da'atzpa lach yeheve lach yusrana v'sif vasa yatirasa l'chusrana. Interesting. So he puts in the word sif vasa yatirasa, so excess speech. Okay. But excess speech will be for lack. Okay. In the first half, b'chol man da'atzpa lach. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that one up. I mean, I would think it comes from safa, like to gaze upon, but I don't know if that's right. I don't even know how to look it up, but I'll look up atzpa. Atzpa. Atzpa is from atzifa. Okay, or atzpa, trouble. Okay, that's probably it. Yeah, Proverbs 14:23, trouble. Okay, so what is he saying? So in b'chol man the atzpa. Okay, so in every person who has trouble, yeheve le yusrana, he will have a gain, but excess speech will be for lack. Okay. All right. Art Scroll says, in every toil there will be gain, but talk of the lips brings only loss. Yeah, so they do preserve, they translate the davar as speech. Refers says, for every effort there is a gain, but the words of the lips are merely a loss. Okay, that's close enough for us. Aldrich says, in all hard labor there is profit, but the word of the lips is shiur loss. Okay, I like shiur. Okay, fine. All right, so let's just keep ours and then keep these up there in case we need to consult them. And let me just make this a little bit smaller. Okay, so what are the questions here?
Is just not knowledgeable question exactly, but is translating davar as like words or speech? Is that's a like a literal translation? Right?
Yeah, that's a literal translation. Yeah.
Okay.
Like Dvar Hashem.
Yeah,
right.
I thought that was
right. Yeah.
Yeah, what's etzev in this context?
Right. What is etzev in this context? Okay, and we have. I'm just trying to keep track here. We have pain is like one genre of translation. Effort is another genre of translation. Not genre, but like category. Do we have others? And then trouble, I guess, would be right. So I'm just going to list those here just to make it easier to think about. Is it pain, effort, or trouble? Yeah. And by the way, just a side point here, not side point, but I don't know if the trouble translation comes from amel, because amel can mean trouble. Etzev I'm not used to seeing as trouble, but if etzev equals amel and amel equals trouble, then you can translate etzev as amel. Yeah.
Yeah, what's the Bechol doing in terms of categorizing this?
Okay, yeah. So what function does Bechol serve. Okay, and so like seemingly it is saying that whereas in general Mishlei is speaking like probability or statistically, this seems to be saying like an absolute statement. So is this making our pasuk an absolute rule or something else? Yeah, Isaac.
Just about that. I think Tzadiyun translated that as
Reboy.
Reboy.
Right, that's true. Right. Yeah.
But that seems like not what the word is.
So I think it is what the word is in the sense of like if you think in Shnai Mikra, or in the Torah as we call it, B'choser kol b'choser kol. Hold on. B'choser kol. It's in one of the it's either in Kisavo or in Bechukosai. I just want to see what the Targum Onkelos says there.
Is it Baruchel?
No, I'm thinking of a different pasuk. Uvachoser kol. Yeah, so it's in Kisavo.
Oh.
So it says and lacking all. So you could just say that means like you don't have anything. I just want to see though what he says. I know he says kol. All right, fine. Yeah. I feel like there are examples where kol means a lot.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
like when Yaakov says Yeshli Kol.
Right, exactly. Yeah, right. He clearly doesn't have everything. So let's say I'll say is it being a pasuk an absolute rule, or does it mean abundance or something else? Yeah, David.
What is motar in this context and machshavah in this context?
Yeah, what is mosar in this context? Is this positive? Okay, like profit, advantage, or negative, like excess for naught, right? Or like bad extra. And then what is machsor in this context? And then let's just add the parallel question to what Sean was asking, but what function does serve in this context? See, to me, that would suggest that it's making absolute statements. The whole, meaning this is true in every case, and then only for loss is like an absolute rule. That's how I'd be intuitively inclined to take it. Yeah, Isaac.
Is this true?
Okay. Is this true?
This is the question that's bothering me.
Yeah.
It seems false.
Right. It seems like there are types of etzev, okay, whatever that means, right? Whatever that means, which are not mosar, okay, whatever that means. Yeah, I mean, like no matter which direction you take it, it seems like it's not always
like
true. Yeah.
You stub your toe. Where's the motive?
Yeah.
Or you're digging in your yard, not to plant anything, just digging in your yard.
Right. That's oil, right?
So or you.
Yeah.
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 You have to deal with your health insurance.
Right. Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, what's the marks of that citizen?
Yeah. What what is the verse of Zion? Are we switching to therapy mode? Yeah. Okay, right. Well, SW Mosar verse right. Yeah.
What's the relationship between the two halves?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it seems to be structured as if it's supposed to be opposites, right? But not entirely clear. What is the relationship between the two halves? Okay, are these opposites? I would also say what is the subject or decision-making scenario here? I mean, that's going to be a central question. I think that's going to, split the meforshim. Yeah.
Scroll to Tергum for a second.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure this is an accurate translation because I think man, like whole man,
Yeah.
Any person.
Okay, remember I have a question.
I do want to use Yusrana and Yatirasa. I don't know what I just want to double check that Yatirasa. I assume it means all right, let's see, Yatirasa. Yatir superfluous is a good word. Yeah, I think superfluity. Yeah. What did you say? But superfluous speech. I think superfluous is or excess. Yeah, it could be either. Yeah. You remember your question? Okay, fine. Yeah.
If Mozart is gain,
Yeah.
what type of gain are we talking about?
Right. Okay. So that we and if it means gain, what type of gain? Yeah. Okay. I feel like we got the main questions.
Yes.
I guess with practical, yeah, what is the practical application? And then who is the audience?
We asked all the definition questions.
I think so. Okay, so let's see what we can come up with here. I mean, okay, no, go ahead. I feel like I know the first half. If Mozart is good.
Okay, I have an intuition about
Okay.
that I think is false.
Okay.
That it's a, like, you know, the American proverb, every cloud has a silver lining.
Mm-hmm.
You know, every like, you know, any like pain that you have, there's like, because of, you know, anything, there's some positive aspect if you like look hard enough or something.
Now, you're saying that it's a false intuition because you don't think that that idea is true, or you don't think that that's what this is saying?
I don't think that idea is true.
Oh, I do think the idea is true. I think that's the idea. No, I think meaning that I think I think that, I mean, this is a very Mishlei idea. It's a very Stoic idea, right? That that you can derive gain from any situation of pain. Meaning, so if you go into the situation, or if you find yourself in a situation and you just like, oh, this is just totally bad, so then it's a wasted opportunity. But if you can utilize that and ask yourself, well, what do I learn about? I mean, the basic division is, did this come about as a result of my decision making or not? If it did, you can definitely get gain, because you can learn about how to make a decision like this in the next time. But if not, so the question is, well, what can I learn from the situation? You know, what do I learn about myself? What insight does this give me into my own psyche? You know, how can I use the obstacle as the way? I mean, so I think this is the inverse, or not the inverse. This is the more explicit version of Gamzu Latova, which is that you can transform any situation into a situation where you gain from it. And the mistake people make is they just label it as bad. This is a bad thing that happened to me, as opposed to not labeling it and seeing that this is a painful situation, which is a reality, but just because it's painful doesn't mean I can't like gain from it or learn from it. So that's what I would say it is.
Okay.
I don't know if that's what people mean when they say the silver lining, because I think that is more of a passive type of like, what do I get from it? But the thrust of the messages of like looking for the silver lining or looking for the gain, I think is a real thing, and I think it's a big oversight that people don't do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I still think the American proverb
Yeah.
is false.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I think the way the people talk about it is there's like some good like consequence that you're going to be happy about that.
Yeah.
You're not seeing yet.
Yeah.
I think is sometimes happens, but it's
Right.
not necessarily.
Yeah, and that is
Yeah.
that's still treating yourself almost as a passive recipient or object, as opposed to a
I don't agree with that idea. But
Right.
I agree with your idea. And I also think coal is an important word to have.
This explains coal, right?
Yeah, because if you're not thinking about this as this is every time there's something to be gained from this, then you're not gonna look at the pain as, well, what can I get from this?
Right, correct. I just wanted to recall Marcus Aurelius's thing here, the fire marshal, not the Rambam's fire marshal. This is the second best fire marshal. Actually, I don't know. Whatever. The ruling power within, this is in Meditations 4:1. The ruling power within, when it is in accordance with nature, so confronts what comes to pass, as always ready to adapt itself readily to that which is and that which is presented to it. This is because it requires no definite material. Rather, it moves towards its purpose with a reservation and then makes the opposition which encounters it into material for itself. It is like a fire when it masters what falls into it, whereby a little flame would have been put out, but a bright fire very quickly appropriates to itself the matter which is heaped upon it and consumes it and rises higher by means of this very material, right? So this is I think I did an episode once on, this is very much like Bruce Lee's water muscle, right? Be water, my friend, but this is the fire muscle. So, right. So in other words, that's the idea, is that fire uses everything that it encounters to gain and to get bigger, so that is a more active way of taking it, and that would be for Bechol, right? Is it a separate idea, or
Just what you guys have been
Yeah.
discussing, I want to do a separate idea. But
because I do want to figure out the second half based
okay.
on this.
I do think that there also is something within you guys were saying that maybe intrinsically the thing is not actually going to be of benefit.
Yeah.
Maybe stubbing your toe is not intrinsically a benefit, but it's only within the person's thinking through the thing that there is.
Right.
I think maybe against the American proverb, maybe saying that intrinsically there is, and maybe that's what you're
Right. Yeah. That's another reason to reject the American proverb. Yeah. So that's why, when Isaac said the stubbing the toe thing, I mean, I thought of the example that I've given many times in the past of the smashing my fingers in one time, and I had just learned an idea in Eov, and I smashed my fingers, and then it was the first time I actually thought about the purpose of pain and how pain is the body's way of signaling that you're doing something that harms it or that there's something wrong. And if you didn't have pain, you would just totally destroy yourself. You would just totally, or you wouldn't know when there are things internally to you that are destroying you. So pain is a good thing. And the recognition, it doesn't mean that I want to slam my fingers in the drawer. No, it doesn't. But when it happens, if I can get this insight and this realization, this appreciation of Chochmas Hashem, that's a real gain, and you get that from any painful situation, right? So what is the second half saying? I'll type out what we have so far. Approach number 1, which is every painful situation can be utilized for real gain, i.e., insights into the world, oneself, decision-making, etc. And the mistake is to pass up those opportunities simply because you find them painful or label them as bad. In reality, something can be painful and gainful, right? Yeah. Yeah.
The second half is that speech is always bad, period.
Yeah, right. So I do think that question forces us to interpret Devar Sifasayim, right? Because it clearly can't be saying all speech is bad. And I think we should retain the absolute, the Machzor is only for loss. So the question is, what kind of speech is always for loss? And then we have to use the first half of the pasuk as our spotlight for looking for a candidate, based on opposites. If that makes any sense, that Marshall. Okay. So the derech is to say, I'm highlighting here that the mistake is to pass upon the opportunities, right? But the pasuk is either the second half of the pasuk is saying that that's the mistake, that's what a fool would do, or it's identifying a different mistake that a fool would do in a situation like this that involves speech. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, what does a fool do when he suffers pain? Which, by the way, this could I'll also add here that toil or trouble, I think, also work for my interpretation here, right? Because when you're toiling, it's very easy to just say oh man, this is just a drag, like they say in the 70s, right? But if you actually look into what how can I gain from this process of toil, in terms of limud or improving my skills, or what does this reflect about my attitude towards work? So what does the fool do instead with lips? Yeah.
Complaints about
I think so. I think that's a good, right.
Just talks about how this thing is terrible.
Right.
A lot.
So the real mistake is to complain about this, about the pain or the toil or the trouble. And this is only for loss because not only does it not improve the situation, right? It's not going to change the situation, but it also exacerbates it, as Mishlei points out in 18:8 and 26:22. Let's see. I think it's that, or it's 18. No, it's not 18:8. Let's just check though. It is 18. Because I taught it recently. 18. Yeah, 18:8. And then
Oh, you know what it was?
what?
It was the third pasuk we did, but we skipped the first.
Right, yeah.
few.
And then 26, 22. Yeah. I didn't realize that was the beginning of a paragraph. Not that I know what paragraphs do in late Mishlei, but yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. So, but the reason why, see, in that pasuk, that was for those who don't know, the words of a complainer are like pummeling. I decided to translate as pummeling because I think pummeling is a good like punching yourself, and they descend to the depths of one's belly. Oh, I have chidushim on that pasuk now.
Ooh.
Yeah. Let me see if I could recall the improved idea. It's not a new idea, it's just a new nuance. I think because so what the idea is that complaining is basically the definition of complaining, I think, is voicing your anger at reality for not being in line with your desires. Okay. So what that does is and Mishlei has that pasuk twice. And so the question is, why does it have it twice? So the main idea is that there are two sets of harm that complaining, two sets of consequences or pain that complaining generates, some for yourself and then some for other people. So the chiddush is that, because the word that's weird is it says the words of a complainer are like pummeling. They descend to the depths of the belly. Descending to the depths of the belly is like a weird mashal. And I think I kind of dismissed it as like, it was just an idiom they had back then, like punches descend to your belly, But I think the idea is that there are external or surface level pains, and then there are internal or unconscious pains. And so when you complain, you are not helping the situation. This in terms of for yourself, you're not helping the situation. You're exacerbating the victim mentality, right? You are focusing your attention on the source of pain as opposed to like letting it pass. But then internally, you're also like awakening the inner immature child that just wants to, wants reality to conform with their desires, or is egocentric and just views any slight to the ego as an injustice. So it's like the complaint has this effect of like pummeling you from the outside, and then it descends and then takes root into the innards. And then same thing with other people. You're putting them into a situation where they can't do anything about it. You are bringing to their attention things that they might not have been dissatisfied with, but now they are. You are spreading bad vibes, like just when you're around a negative person, it spreads bad vibes, and then you're also awakening those same parts in them. So unlike that, which is focusing on the pain, this is focusing on the missed opportunity. That's why it says lamachsor. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Yes, separate. Yeah.
Okay. So it's saying that you need to actually gain anything, you need to do action, and speech alone doesn't do anything.
Okay, good. I was wondering if someone was going to say that for the. I got that from the second half, but yeah. Okay, so David's approach is start off again the first part.
I said to make anything happen, but
yeah.
Are
you taking it like meaning that etziv is referring to effort in action, and any gain can only come through effort?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like speech alone, people mean that definitely know there's a lot of like people like right talk is cheap.
Right.
It's very easy to be able to think that you're going to be able to make things happen, to do things, to when you fantasize about something, you talk about it, and then like, oh yeah, I achieved that thing. You didn't actually achieve it until you physically achieved that thing.
So gain can only come about through making an actual effort in action. Okay, in action. Speech alone doesn't accomplish anything, and if you substitute action for speech, speech for action, then you will lose because you're not doing anything, and faking yourself out and others out to imagine that you're accomplishing something. What's the Pirkei Avos one that Emor Ma'at Aseh Harbe? Yeah, right. That's I think similar to this line of thinking.
Yeah, I'd say the way that this would be translated is the Tavaris Vasayim means a thing of lips.
That's good. Yeah,
it's solely confined to lips.
A thing of lips is only for a loss. Yeah, meaning that it is only a thing verbally, not in reality. Yeah, all right, that's a good idea. Should we look at meforshim and then maybe go into new pasuk tomorrow? All right, let's try that. Okay, did I open the thingy? I did. All right, Rבינו, no, Mitzvah David says, B'chol etzev, b'chol davar itzavon v'amel yegias hamalacha yihye la'adam yisron v'revach ma. So in any, what did he say? I lost the first word. In any matter of pain and toil and exertion of work, a person will have benefit and a gain. Aval davar hasavasayim amal bo. But if you toil in Devar Savasayim, you'll only have loss. Keep rov Devarim lo yachal pasha, because in an abundance of words, there will not an error will not be lacking. So that's a weird one, right? So let's assume that the first half is true in terms of, like, I think we think, like, we have a concept. A lot of the work that we do, you know, in terms of like ways people make money, you can have like a lot of like busy work back then or now, but like. Back then, like, let's assume you're doing malacha, like you're actually, let's say malacha on Shabbos, right? You know, not on Shabbos, but the malachos of Shabbos, you're doing like planting, plowing stuff. You are accomplishing stuff, okay? So you're going to get some gain. But then what does it mean? The amel in Devar Savasayim is only for a loss because you'll make mistakes or because you'll commit some sin. Like, what's that juxtaposition of topics? It's weird.
I don't know if this is the same thing or a different thing. But there's a criticism that people sometimes have of like business, like let's say business executives.
Yeah.
That like the workers who are actually doing the work for the business.
Yeah.
Like, let's say you know, a fast food chain.
Yeah.
There's the people who are actually in the store, like, you know, the like essential workers.
Yeah.
Who are actually creating the value for the business. And then you have a lot of like, you know, higher ups who are just, you know, they're talking about things and making decisions, but they're not actually really creating anything of value.
Right.
You know?
It's a very Marxist model. The person should read Atlas Shrugged, but I hear what you're saying though. I know it's not your position, right?
Yeah,
right.
This is a view that I've heard.
Yes, definitely. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. To me, it seems like though the emphasis is on the potential of speech to generate actual problems.
Yeah.
Right. As opposed to the speech not gaining anything. Right. Like, I think that's the difference between the way we're reading it and the way he's reading it.
Yeah.
And he's learning loss as like harm, you know, not just lack of gain.
You're just the way we were understanding just practically, it was like a meditation on speech.
Amel?
Yeah, the way we were talking about it, when you were translating before, it sounded like a little bit of. You able to translate it again?
Wait.
Sorry, not translate, but you just read through.
Yeah. So he says that in every pain, toil, and exertion of work, there will be gain and profit, some gain and profit for a person, but a matter of the lips, toiling in it is only for loss, because in an abundance of words, then error will not be lacking, or offense will not be lacking, or a mistake will not be lacking. Yeah.
Maybe it's talking about like thoroughness in terms of if you are very meticulous in your physical work, so that meticulousness.
Okay, that's interesting. Oh, okay, that's interesting.
But if you're too verbose in your words, then sometimes you'll just completely lose the thread because it's too cumbersome, the idea, or it's just not.
Okay. All right. I like that approach. Let's try it out. Okay. So in physical labor, the more energy you put into meticulous working, the more gain you'll emerge with, either qualitatively or quantitatively. Okay. In speech, however, there is such a thing as too much of a good thing, right? Namely, excess speech can create additional problems that would not have occurred if you kept it concise and to the minimum. Concise and the minimum is not concise. Okay. Yeah. Right. So you see this. I mean, I think the example that comes to my mind is the writing down of Torah Peh, right? That before Torah Peh was committed to writing, then the body of Torah Peh was relatively small. But once you commit things to text, and then you have people interpreting the text, and then people interpreting the interpretations of the text, then it just proliferates needlessly because you can't. You become married to the words, and then the words create additional ambiguities and problems and errors and mistakes and tefutzim. Yeah.
Where do you see meticulousness in Mishlei?
Amel, I think that's Hashan's taking Amel, like taking the trouble to
Amel and diverse society. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a good approach. Yeah, David.
I think within that also, if you try to like overly spoon feed something to someone, then you kind of like turn off their mind. And then within like speech or things of thought, you don't want to be doing that.
Right. Okay. Example is spoon feeding an idea to someone, which causes them to lose out on their gain. Yeah, on their learning. Yeah, I mean, I think that is not what the Metzudas David is saying, because he says pasha, it's going to lead to mistakes, and spoon feeding would seem to have the benefit of. I think that's a motive for people to engage in spoon feeding because they think there's no way for a mistake, But yeah, it's a good idea on its own right. Yeah. Okay, let's look at Rבינו Yona. Rבינו Yona says, did he tie it to the last pasuk? No. Yair b'mikra hazeh. So this is pointing out al hazrizus. Can never translate it. Yeah, like that. Alacrity. Okay. There's no good word that we use in English for that. Amar, that I know of. Amar ki la'olam yimtza yisron b'amala. A person will always find advantage in his toil. Hustle. Yeah. Ki b'chol is. Because anytime he toils, whether a little or a lot, whether in wisdom or in work, so that's like the Metzudas David, it seems. So if it's a divorce v'sayim, if it's idle chatter, you're always going to have loss. It's going to cause batala, meaning not doing stuff many times. In many cases, roa midas habatala b'kama mkomos v'nisyaksa hasicha habatela l'svasayim ukmohu amarti ach davar svasayim ki ena ru'uya lehisyachas ala leiv. Okay, so we've talked about sicha batela a lot, and in many places, and it ascribes sicha batela to the lips, as in Yeshayahu. I said only davar svasayim. I don't know what the context is, because it's not proper to ascribe it to the mind. Gam yesh lefarish. So I think that fits into ideas that we said before, especially David's thing about talking instead of doing, right? But it's saying that there's a trend of sicha batela that can like actually suck you into the world of just talking and not doing stuff. Whereas I think you were talking more about the actual like concrete alternatives, but I think they're related. Gam yesh lefarish davar svasayim hamispire al hamaise asher bedato lasas. Classic example. That's if you glorify yourself about something that you have the intention to do, but you haven't done it yet, right? Because action is dependent on Hashem. It's not in man's hand. I think what he means is the outcome is not in your hands. V'timol bo machshavto b'hishano al binaso v'kocho. And you will toil in it. He will toil in his thought, relying on his bina and his koach, right? So that's like bragging about something before you've done it, and then you're going to end up, looking like a fool, or like actually screwing up your ability to actually like accomplish it. That a lot of examples of that. Yeah.
I think also just in terms of being tolerant of Hashem.
Yeah.
I think there's the outcome, but there's also sometimes even your attempting to do it,
right,
can be like, thwarted by things that's
exactly.
Like,
yeah.
You're like, you were really going to do this thing, and then like the circumstances change, and now it's not practical, not possible.
Right. Yeah, and I think this fits in with your reading of davar svasayim, meaning that it is not a davar; it's just a davar svasayim. Like it's not an actual reality. Yeah.
I think also the like saying I plan to do something, even when this is totally what you intend to do, but at the same time, I'm doing this, but I'm planning to do it. Is I think. Internally, I know it's not like directly the Mishlei, but like internally, I think it is just helpful insofar as like lack of frustration when things don't pan out.
Yeah.
Because I already knew it was not a necessary thing to be
right.
happening in the first place. But I also think insofar as interpersonally being maybe a little more Mishlei as far as consequences, that people don't pin things on you as much because
right.
it was never a certainty coming from you.
Right.
You never framed it as a certainty.
Yeah, I definitely have that. I'm very vigilant about that with high schoolers. And if any high school, this does not happen very much, but if a high schooler says, but you promised, I will say, honestly, I'll say, I never make promises in when it comes to like saying stuff in I mean in general, but like certainly in high school because of that exact thing. Yeah. Okay, meiri. This is a general lesson about day-to-day decisions and about matters of intelligence, of like developing your intellect. Etzev nemar al hina al b'inyan amel. Etzev means toil. Kmo v'atzavecha b'veis nachri. Anything that you strive for with great diligence, timsa bo revach umosar, you will find profit and gain. Yagati l'matasi al tamin. If someone says I toiled and I did not find, don't believe him. It's fine because that's about learning, right? But he's saying it's about everything.
Yeah, they say with other things, if they say Yagati,
right.
You do believe that.
Yeah, I think he's what do you call it? Just borrowing the phrase.
Okay, yeah.
Someone who wastes his time in grandiose speech. He's going to diminish every day. I bet this is Mivchar Pninim. 147. Yep, sounds like Mivchar Pninim. So one of the Chachamim Musar commanded his son, saying, "Don't be a Chacham in word, in speech, be a Chacham in action." That's a great term, by the way, a Chacham in action, because Chacham in action will benefit you in Olam Haba, but Chacham in speech will remain here. Okay, that's generous even, right? Because Chacham in action benefits you in this world usually and the next world, and chachma here, it's not just that it's going to remain. Chachma in speech, it's not just that it remains here; it could be like for nothing. I think it means actually like acting based on chachma, not just talking. You know, yeah, you could have like we were saying, you could have like grand plans for stuff, but that doesn't mean it's actually going to like come to fruition. Rabbeinu Zal pirush shu etzev inyan da'aga. Oh, so they say inyan etzev is like anxiety or stress or worry. Milashon ne'etzav el David. The Netzav HaMelech al Bano. Upirusho he'ara al menias haschok v'hatiu. Interesting. So this is Chazal say that this is about refraining from schok and tiul al derech shebiyarnu l'mala. I'm not translating that yet because I want to see what he means by it. I don't think it's talking about going on trips for yeshiva. Ki davar savzayim mora al yeshivas hakranos v'dibor b'iske ha'olam. Okay, so I think schok and tiul is like just like loafing around, and schok here, I think he means also like frivolity. I think that's what he's talking about. So Devar Savasayim indicates sitting on the corners and being involved in just like talking about events. Shehem Gorim Devarim Elo that caused schok and tiul. Anytime a person stations himself as a self-thinker, I don't know, Mishashev, I've never seen that conjugation before, and like a person who is worrying, okay, Yihye Mosar. So I'm picturing here the thinker pose, right? Anytime you go like this, then you're going to have benefit, okay? I think that's what he's saying. Now, obviously, it doesn't mean that you just take the pose, but he's saying you have to set yourself up in a... the vibe I'm getting, I'm just going to say this now because I have to go soon, is... there are certain activities that are characteristic of people who waste their time. Okay, that's just like sitting around and talking on corners. And even if you're a thoughtful person, if you engage in those behaviors, it will promote thoughtlessness. So too, there are people who sit and think. And even if you're not naturally a thinker, if you put yourself in situations where you sit and think, then it'll make it more conducive to that. So like, for example, this is the whole, not the whole problem. One of the problems of everyone having smartphones in their pocket of like, if you have an idle moment, instead of sitting and thinking about something, you just like pull out your smartphone and like scroll somewhere, So I think setting yourself up to be in a position where you're going to think will lead to gain. And if you set yourself in a situation of like frivolity or schok or tiul, then it's just going to promote that behavior. Okay, that was a good haul. All right, so the summary here, really quickly, and then I have to go, is we had one approach, which is you should use situations of pain for gain. And if instead you complain, then you'll end up with pain. Yeah. Okay, right. Then David's idea, which is also overlapping with Rubén and Yona's idea, is that you should, and Meiri's first idea, is don't deceive yourself into thinking that talking is productive. In reality, talking can be a setup for being productive, but only wise action is actually productive. And if you fake yourself out into thinking that you're accomplishing something through talking, then that's actually not going to play out in reality. You have to actually do something. Metzudas David says that if you toil, which Sean interpreted to mean in the meticulousness in physical labor, it's always going to result in gain, even if the gain is incremental. But in speech, you could there's not just diminishing returns. There's like it could cause harm by being too toily in speech. And David mentioned as a side point that spoon feeding an idea to someone could ruin the learning. And then we had the Meiri just now saying that posing or taking on the external features of corner sitters will promote corner sitting, and the opposite for thinker posing. Yeah. Okay. Good idea. So tomorrow, Bli Neder, we will no commitments. We will go on to the next pasuk.
Thank you.
Yeah. Nice.